Hi, so welcome back to Tried and Tested Cycle Coaching. This is stage 3 of the Mallorca Masters 2025 stage race. As you can see, there's a little photo of me in the polka dot from stage 2. So a brief recap on how stages 1 and 2 played out. Stage 1 was shortened due to the prospect of bad weather, which never happened, ended up being really warm and dry. Due to the race being quite short, just gave limited time to really to make any noticeable moves in the race, although 3 riders did get away and established a 54-second lead by the end. So, but anyway, me and Charlie were happy to just finish that one and get it ticked off. Stage 2, bit more of an interesting stage. There was, a few notable climbs, well, not climbs, but drags, if you like, in that course, which helped, make it a bit more interesting. And the prospect for separation was, much better. What really kind of mixed that stage up, though, was the weather. No forecast for rain, but it absolutely poured down. We were absolutely soaked by the end of that race. So, yeah. But at the end of that, I think 4 riders established about a 2-minute lead on the main bunch. So on GC, I was now 4th and about 18 or 19 seconds behind the yellow jersey. Okay, so let's get into stage 3, because for me, this is the best stage of the 4 days, without a shadow of a doubt. You basically get to climb the Coll De Sa Batalla on completely closed roads and then absolutely rag it down the Femenia. And for me, that is one of the best descents that you can do. You can really push it down that descent. And I was so glad when I woke up on that morning and the sun was shining, because there is no way I would want to do that stage in the wet. So, yeah, out of the 4 days, I was so pleased that this was dry. So in terms of obviously the strategy and the tactics for this day, it's largely flat in the early part of the race. We set out from Port Palencia. I mean, it's such a great start as well. You're right on the front, got all the crowds there. So, it's a nice, easy rollout. And obviously I was in polka dot jersey, so I was right at the front, which was quite helpful. So we roll out. It's a fairly aggressive start. Let's have a look at the numbers. Yeah, so I think the heart rate did get up a little bit at the start, but I think it soon settled down. And to be honest, these roads are so flat; it's really hard to get away. Especially, I think the appetite for racing hard, knowing that you've got to climb this, is probably a little bit on the low side. You've got 2 days of racing now in the legs, so I think people were probably a bit more conservative on this day. But saying that, there were still people willing to have a go, which made it a really good race. And in the end, I think a small group did get away. But yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute. But in terms of tactics, the plan really was to try and conserve as much energy until we came off this main road and onto the service road towards Campanat. Let's just drill into this in a bit more detail. Yeah, so you're kind of doing 2 laps of this up, and you come back round to go past Alcudia, up to Porto Palencia, and then back round, and then you come off the main road for before you hit the climb. So it's all about energy conservation for me, the first part of this race, and I think we did that really well. If I look at the stats until we sort of get off the service road, average heart rate 119, average power 189. So yeah, I was definitely looking after my legs in the first part of the race, and I felt quite good, to be honest. So then, yeah, the tactics were really with Charlie to push on once we come off this road. I think initially we thought it would stay together, and then he would just help me get up the climb. But given that there was a break up the road, we didn't know how much time they had. So in the end, we basically got straight to the front. As soon as we got off this main road, we was on the front. He done a amazing turn, and there was bodies all over the road, people getting shelled. We nicknamed it Mascari Madness, because it was quite good. It played out really well. So yeah, we he drilled it up through here. I was basically second or third wheel. There was a few other riders as well pushing on, helping to keep that momentum, which was good. Um, and then just as we came through past Campanet and then into Mascari, you've got this kind of fast downhill bit here. So there's been a lot of damage on this section. So if I look at this section up to here, normalised 321 for 15 minutes. That's even before we get onto the climb. So you can get a sense of how hard I was working. What was the average heart rate? Yeah, so 149. So not mega, but definitely working. I mean, we could probably let's have a look at Charlie's data. So he was doing all the work, really, to be fair. His 5 minute power was 360. The start of the effort was 128. So yeah, this was it here. So yeah, he started ramping up. Given that he's like low 60s, that's decent power for someone that small. But yeah, so Charlie was banging it, and then he sort of sat up a little bit. I think he knew that a climb was coming, but I felt quite good, so I sort of carried on the effort, and I managed to bridge across to the break just as we hit the climb. And I had a bit of a gap actually on the what was left of the bunch at that time. So yeah, then we hit the climb, and you're never quite sure how the legs are going to fare, to be honest. I mean, obviously, there's rolling terrain and you're putting in efforts, but then you're getting, some sort of recovery. But when you get onto a climb like this, there is no let up. So you're literally on the pedals for a good 20 minutes or so. So yeah, my 20-minute power came at 141, and that was the climb. We can check the segment. Let's have a look. Go to overview. It's a bit slow today, this. Yeah, so if we look at Coll De Sa Batalla, yeah, so I did it in 18:29, average power 341. So yeah, not too bad, given that obviously we were racing. But I climb seated, so that will definitely help with the speed. I think people who are a lot of the time out of the saddle don't realise that that's not always the most efficient way to climb, especially on a climb like this, which isn't mega steep. It's only sort of 5% average. There's not really any real steep sections, maybe other than the last bit. As you go up towards the Repsol garage, it sort of kicks up a bit there, but other than that, it's a really nice steady climb. So yeah, I think because I climb mainly seated. I rarely get out of the saddle. That helps with the pace. But I mean, if we compare it to the pros, I mean, look at these guys. These are doing it sub 16 minutes. You know, so yeah, we're a bit off the pace, but we're only amateurs. So yeah, not bad. But yeah, I managed to stay with a group of three other riders. Matthias, a German guy who weighs about 62 kilos, was really, he was really pushing up the climb. I think in past events he's pretty much left the bunch at this point. So I was really happy that I managed to stick with him up the climb. So I'm now away with three others basically. I can see down the mountain that there are a few other riders, not too far away, but we seem to be putting some time into them. And I'm conscious actually that the yellow jersey is now not with us as we're coming up this climb. So in my mind, I'm now thinking I need to try and do my level best to stay with these guys. So I did dig deep. There's no doubt about it. My heart rate, I think, maxed out at like 179, so that's pretty high for me. I rarely see 180s when I'm racing unless it's on a really hard climb. So yeah, I definitely went deep to make sure I stayed in contact with these three other riders. But I think everyone was on going full gas. So yeah, so we crest the climb, and I'm now happy that we're going to be coming, or at least hitting some sort of descent. Although you still need to factor in that this road, you still got to do a bit of work before you hit the main descent. So the Coll De Femenia is almost like a bit of a plateau along here, but it's up and down, and you still got to, like I say, work quite hard. So as a group, we did sort of try and stick together, um, and I could see that we definitely had, we must have had at least 30 or 40 seconds on the next chase group. But I was relishing this descent now. I couldn't wait to start descending because I know I can descend quite fast, and I really wanted to try and eke out as much time as I could on this yellow jersey. So the four of us are now hitting the descent. We've got completely closed roads. As I said at the start, this is for me one of the best moments of the whole 4 days. Closed roads, you haven't got to worry about cars coming the other way. You can take, the best lines. That said, though, there was a few damp patches dotted around on the descent, so you did have to make sure that you didn't push it too hard into some of the corners. So yeah, but I felt pretty comfortable, to be honest. I've been down this descent a couple of times. We recorded it a few days before, albeit it was absolutely hammering it down that day. So we went down quite gingerly. But yeah, so four of us, sorry, I'm really hitting it hard down this descent, and I feel like I'm gapping them sometimes, probably because I was probably the heaviest rider of the four. I think they were all kind of low to mid 60s. I'm probably around 70 kilos on a good day. So I've got a few extra kgs that's helping on some of the faster sections. So I'm conscious I don't want to put in too much of a gap because I still want to work with these guys to the finish. I do need them because once you come off the Femenia, although it's kind of downhill, it's still, you've still got quite a bit of distance to cover, and it's good if you've got a few riders who can share the load, especially as I'm now potentially in yellow. But as we come down the hill and we come through past the old town, or just near the old town in Palenka, we get caught, and lo and behold, it's the yellow jersey and a few other riders. Clearly, they wasn't that far behind, and if they were committed to chase us down. he clearly obviously didn't, he wanted to keep in the yellow, because after this day, the prospect of getting any more time on stage 4, which I'll come into in the next video, it gets even more difficult. So we're now on the flat, and I'm somewhat recovered from the climbing, but I can really feel it in the legs still. But I do my level best to try and get away. I can't remember how many times I attacked these guys, but there was just too many of them, to be honest. There was 8 of us in total. A couple were sitting on, just waiting, I think, to get to the finish, whereas the others were, still quite active and willing to chase me down, or any other. There was a couple of others attacking as well. So in the end, as I say, I managed 8th place, but I was now second on GC, still about 19 seconds off the leader. So 19 seconds, yeah, I guess, that's not a lot of time, but the stage for Alcudia to Alcudia, relatively flat. There's one section that's pretty grippy, but it's going to be a tall order to try and get effectively 20 seconds on the yellow jersey. The guy is going to be committed, obviously, and it's always easier, I think, to chase stuff down than it is to try and get away. So let's hope I've got a bit of sauce left for the final stage. See you in the next one.